gone. Everything is gone. So it's not just that he's killing, it's not only killing his son, which is horrific enough as it is, but his whole life's work, his whole life is gone. And he's willing to give away all of that, everything, all of that, for the sake of the fact that Hashem said, offer up your son. It's unbelievable. Now,
what I read was that he didn't say, bring your son up to sacrifice him. He said, bring him up.
If you want to do this, we can. That was the part that was getting very confusing. Yeah. If you want that, we can talk about. I'll go into that. There are many questions over here. There are many questions. Let's just start with some of the questions. How many are able to answer? I don't know. The first question is that some of the commentaries ask, which is phenomenal in the fact that they ask it. They say, what was the test? Didn't God tell him to do it? Now, I have to think about that for a few minutes. If God comes to you and tells you, do X, why is it a test? You heard his voice. So where's the test? Now, to me, I don't quite understand the question. Still is a pretty big test. But they do ask this question.
Well, that wasn't a question.
What? That wasn't your question. I know. I didn't get to your question. That wasn't your question. No. Yeah.
You got to do something you want to do.
But it's not. But if God tells you to do it, you do it. It's not like you heard it fifth hand.
Through your own son.
And then let's make this even better. In Jewish history, we've done this many times. There's been many cases in the Crusades where they were going to take the Jewish kids, where the Jewish people committed suicide en masse instead of letting the people be taken away. I will tell you, you do it also. You do it also. Did you raise your kids Jewish?
Right.
So you put a target on their back. It's just a matter of degree. You raise your kids to think they're Jewish? You're putting their life in danger. Why would you do that? Oh, it's not putting your life in danger. Huh?
Your faith.
Your faith. You do it because this is what we are. So we do this. Now you can argue the reason why we do this is because Abraham did it, which is he instilled the quality in our soul. But it's much different because he heard it from the Hashem himself. We only heard it generation after generation. So they asked the question, what's the big deal that Abraham did it? That's question number one. There are three other questions, which among them your question, which I'm going to ask, and I don't know if we'll have time to answer them. But I just want to. It's worth the schmooze just a little bit.
Questions don't get answered.
I know. You know me. I don't like it. I love questions. The questions are as follows. Number one, after the Akedah, after the binding of Isaac. So let me just answer. Let me do something else first. There is a few answers to the question that I gave. The question I asked. What's the big deal? Hashem told him to do it. Assuming you buy the question, which I'm not sure I can buy the question, but they do ask this question. So these are the answers. Number one, he did it with joy. In other words, he didn't say, I have to offer my son and cry and moan. He did it with his slavas. He got up the next morning, boom, jumped on the camel, loaded up, didn't even tell Sarah, ran to do the mitzvah. He didn't do it with a sense of obligation, it is a sense of joy. That was the test, number one. Number two is that when he offered up the ram, it was as if he offered up Isaac. That was, he didn't wane in his enthusiasm. It was actually the same. It was the same machshava, the same thought. Third, and maybe most important for us, is that he didn't question God. Now, what question could have he asked? So the classic question he could have asked, which we know is the question he knew, because the medrash, the corollary sources tell us that he asked this question after the event of the Akedah. He asked God afterwards, I don't understand. On one day you tell me the Jewish people will continue through my son Isaac. I know my son Isaac doesn't have any children. So it must be that Isaac has to live. So how can you tell me to kill him? He didn't ask the question. So the fact that his faith was so pure, and he had a bomb kasha, as you say in yeshiva. This is like a nuclear bomb question. He had the question, but he didn't ask it because Hashem told him to do it. That's it. So his greatness was Shahir Achami Daisav. He didn't question the qualities of Hashem. Those are the three classical answers. You will get to the question that what was the test? God told him to do it. The three classical answers are, number one, that he did it with joy. Number two, that even when he was told that he shouldn't do it, he slaughtered the ram as if it was Yitzchak, that was still his intent. He was still willing to do it. He didn't go, whew, thank God you called that one off. What else can I do here? Okay, let's have his ram celebration. It wasn't that he was like relieved. It was as if he was offering Isaac. And number three, he never questioned God whatsoever. Like here, Achami Daisav, he didn't question God. All three are vital lessons to us. We'll get to a fourth answer soon. But because you raised this other question, you forced me into going into the esoteric. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. The first question is that he could have questioned God. He could have questioned God by saying, "You're the one who promised me that my son Isaac would become the Jewish people, and now you're killing him." Could have asked that question. I have a better question. Didn't God tell him you shall not murder? Why didn't he ask that question? Hashem told him the 7 Noachide laws. One of them is the prohibition against murder. Why didn't he ask that question? Why doesn't anybody ask? Why doesn't he ask that question?
Well, going back to what you said earlier, when he went out to greet the angels,
Right.
He was on a higher level.
Right.
He might have known
That
what was going to happen.
No, he did, but then it's no test. If he knew he wasn't going to, this is all a charade, then it's no test.
Well, he couldn't have to be certain about it.
So it's a quasi charade. you don't win that war. Yeah.
It could be blind faith.
Well, blind faith is fine, but there's no such thing as blind faith. But it could be once you know God, you follow. That's right. But that's why he did it. But the question is, if he was going to ask a question and he's lauded for not asking a question, why isn't he lauded for not asking the question of you told me that you said yesterday you shall not murder? That's question number one. Question number two is that afterwards. Let me grab this. This is a phenomenal question. Question number two is, after the angel said to him, don't kill your son. So why did he say, let me cut him? What would be the purpose? What's the use of that? It's over. It's over. And the third question is really your question. Third question is that God doesn't lie. So if you look at the language of the Torah, who put the hate in her up to 80? No, it's hot in here. It is hot in here. Who wants to volunteer to go next door and close it down, at least just to make sure it doesn't go on? No volunteers, huh? All right.
All right. God knows what you want.
No. If you guys don't want it, I'll just roll up my sleeves. I feel the heat pouring in here. Some of us, huh? I'm working hard here, So the next question is, so God doesn't lie. So when God said, he said, take your son, offer him as an offering. That's the mitzvah. And there's no. So God said at the end, I never meant for you to kill him. I meant for you to bring him up. That's the language used. Haleyu sham la'ola. Bring him there as an offering. You were never supposed to kill him. So the question, that's the one you were commenting on. I told you to take him up. I could tell you to take him down. So the question is, was Abraham's vision a mistake? Was it all a charade?
What do you mean his vision?
When he thought God told him to kill him. But God never told him to kill him. So he made a mistake in his vision? The whole thing was it was wrong. So why didn't God stop him earlier? No, you misunderstand. I never meant for you to offer. I just meant to go on a tiyul with him, go on a trip. So could it be that God meant at the beginning to kill him, and at the end meant not to kill him? So what kind of prophecy is that where you can't know what the words of the prophecy are?
Maybe he was testing his dedication.
But to kill somebody when it's no mitzvah to kill somebody? That's not dedication. Your point is valid, but you hear the question. So the answer is very, very difficult. The answer is, if we understand that Judaism means to give everything to God, Could it not be that we're supposed to offer ourselves on an altar? Why can't that be? Hear this really good. Hear it. Why can't that be true? The answer is, it's not true, because human beings have bechira, have choice, and our offering to Hashem is through the bechira, through the choice that He gave us and all the other mitzvahs. But could it be that there is an individual who's supposed to be at that level? That the purpose of one individual, maybe one individual in history, or 10 individuals in history, is just to give their lives. Not letting somebody else take your life in the name of Judaism. Millions of Jews have done that, sadly. But one person says, okay, kill me because I want to prove that all life is God's. And that we are nothing vis-a-vis His majesty. So could it be that there are individuals who that's their destiny? Because that is, albeit not what God wants us to sanctify His name through our other choices, but could it be that there are individuals or souls in history whose that is their destiny?
But it wasn't him.
Well, I don't know. We didn't get here yet. Is it beyond your philosophical stretching point to say that there are individuals, not to give their life in sanctification because somebody wants to kill you and you say, I'm not moving from my Judaism, kill me instead? That millions of Jews have done. Again, sadly, but with great courage. But not even that. You get yourself killed just to prove that we are nothing vis-a-vis the majesty of Hashem. Could that be? Could it be?
Possible.
Possible. Okay, good. I was afraid nobody would buy it. So now this is what happened over here. Abraham's machshava, the thought of Abraham was, remember, he's not killing a child here, he's killing a 37-year-old adult who has full cognizance of choice and knew exactly what was going on. He said to himself, maybe Yitzchak is that person whose life is dedicated to showing that God is everything, I am nothing. Therefore, kill me to show that God is everything and I am nothing. Maybe he's the one. Let me go. I don't go. I'll answer everything in a minute. Maybe he's the one. So, on some level, that could be true. For most of the world, that would be a tremendous desecration of the name of God. You're killing somebody to prove that God is God? That would be a tremendous desecration of the name of Hashem. So the test of Abraham now was, let's lay it out. The test of Abraham was, number one, would he be willing to kill his son? Number two, would he do it with giving up everything that he had? Number three, was he willing to kill his son, even though the killing of his son would end up being a tremendous desecration of the name of God? For a man who loved God so much, was he willing to kill his son, if that's what God wanted, even though the killing of his son would end up being the greatest desecration of the name of God, which makes the act of killing his son a unbelievably greater sacrifice?
Wow.
Right? So you hear it? So now, this is what happened. Hashem said to Abraham, remember, there's another question here which everybody asks, which is hard to find a good answer for. Who is the one who commanded Abraham to offer up his son? Not a trick question. God. Who was the one who told Abraham to stop? An angel. What happened there? Why didn't Abraham should have said, well, if God told me to go, God got to tell me to stop. What's the angel business over here? The difference is that there was two levels going on over here all along. There was a level of Abraham that on his level, on Isaac's level, could be Isaac was that one. In the eyes of the world, this couldn't happen. It would be too much of a desecration in the name of Hashem. So when Hashem said, offer him up, Hashem meant both simultaneously. Abraham, on your level, you know exactly what I mean. You're to kill Yitzchak. On the level of the rest of the world, all you are to do is to bring him there. And therefore, at the last moment, when everything was proven, God said to Abraham, stop. But not God, he sent an angel, which is a lesser manifestation, because the world, the lesser manifestation, wouldn't be able to handle the act. So therefore Hashem stopped it because of the desecration it would cause in the lesser people, everything other than Abraham. But that could be stopped by a lesser entity, a malach, not by God himself. Because that was a lesser manifestation.
But you're saying if the world was able to accept it,
That's exactly right.
that would be the extinction of the Jewish people.
No, I'm not, because what Abraham was trying to do. Thank you for that. Another, you got the machine gun out tonight. What Abraham was trying to do was to bring the Mashiach, because had Isaac been killed, the only way out of the conundrum of how could there be a Jewish people through Isaac if Isaac is dead with no children, was that Isaac we brought back to life, which would be the Mashiach, the time of the Mashiach. That's the only way out. So really what he was trying to do was to bring the Mashiach. And now you have the ultimate sacrifice. When Hashem told him not to bring the Mashiach, he didn't. Whew. Okay, next step.
That's why Iran has a nuclear weapon.
We'll figure all this out. Just absorb what's going on here, because this is your soul. Absorb this. This is your soul. One more step, really two more steps. The next step is another reason why this was so unbelievably great in the eyes of God, and why it's so emblematic and axiomatic of Judaism, is because he did not have to do it. Why? Because if you look at the verse is something very strange. It says, Kach no es bincha, please take your son. God doesn't say, please keep the Sabbath. He says, keep the Sabbath. He doesn't say, please give charity. He says, give charity. Please means you don't have to do it. It was a request, not a command. So why did he do it? Because what is Judaism at its highest level? It's unityism, as we spoke about. Unityism means there is nothing of you that's not dedicated to the service. That means the law and beyond the law. I'm willing to go where Hashem allows me, even beyond the law. Hashem says, give 10% to charity, I'll give 20%. I'll go beyond the law. I'm willing, because I want to show Hashem that me is also in service of him. Not just what is commanded, but me is in service of him. What I am, I want to go beyond. It's called Kadesh Atzmacha Mutrulach, sanctify yourself even where there is no particular commandment. So therefore, what Abraham did was this expression of his willingness to do what God asked, not commanded, was emblematic and axiomatic of what Judaism in its essence stands for. Hear it? So he didn't have to. The greatness was he did it when he didn't have to. So I always tell this story about there's a responsa written in World War II. An unbelievable story happened in one of the ghettos. I should really look it up to get all the details, but the gist of the story is as follows. There was an action in one of the ghettos where the Germans took 100 boys. They grabbed them off the street, took them, whatever they were going to do with them. The guards who were guarding the boys in the lager, they wanted to make some money, but because all they had to do was deliver 100 boys to the train. So let it be known that if anybody wanted to bribe them, to give them some money, they would let one of the children go. Of course, they'd have to grab another child. So this person, this rabbi, his name is Rabbi Oshri, I think. He was the rabbi in this place, and this man comes knocking to his door, and he says, Rabbi, I have this question. I need an immediate answer. My son was taken. I have the money available to bribe my son out. Am I allowed to? Because if I bribe my son out, they'll take somebody else's son.
Right.
So the rabbi wrote about him. He says, I could not answer the question. It was way too complex a question. He said, I had no menuchas, I had no time to think. I didn't have any books. I'd taken away all his books. I had no other rabbis to consult with. So I answered and said, I do not know. I cannot answer this question. And he records in his response, he says, the man turned to me again and he said, Rebbe, darf wissen jetzt. I need to know now. I don't have time. I have to either bribe him out or not bribe him out. I need to know now. And he said, yes, I don't know. And this conversation went on back and forth. The rabbi said, I cannot answer. I do not know. So the man walked out the door and he said, Rebbe, he said, if you don't know, that means you have a legitimate question in your mind as to whether I'm allowed to do this.
Right.
In which case I can't. And then he said, of a Rebbe Weiss, know this. In a certain way, ich bin größer than Avraham Avinu. I'm great. In a certain way, I'm greater than Abraham. Because he only wanted to give his son. Then he turned and he walked out. And I tell you, you do the same thing. You don't think of it in conscious terms. If you were so afraid of anything that might happen to your kids, you would never have told them they're Jewish. You never would have told them that. Hide. Get rid of the Schwartz. Get rid of the Tenenbaum. Get rid of the Moshe. Get rid of all that. Just dump it all. Because something might happen to your kid if anybody knows. So you do this without thinking about it in those terms. One last idea is this called the binding of Yitzchak. It's called the binding of Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac. So one reason it's called the binding of Isaac, even though Abraham was the one who, you'd think you'd name this event after Abraham. Why do you name it after Isaac? So one, we said before in recognition of the fact that Isaac allowed himself to be bound, asked to be bound, so that his father shouldn't flinch, he shouldn't flinch and disqualify himself as an offering. That's one reason why it's called the binding of Isaac. But there's a much more fundamental reason. There is a difference between Abraham and Isaac here. Abraham heard God say, offer up your son. Yitzchak didn't. Why did Yitzchak listen? Because his father, his Rebbe, told him that this is what Hashem wanted him to do. This act of Yitzchak was mashrish, rooted in us, the fact that we remain Jewish. Because why would we do anything? Because our father, our mother, our babri, our zaydi, our rav, our rabbi, our chacham, our rebbe told us. Who are they? We do it because Yitzchak listened to his father. And this midah, that quality was mushrish, is rooted in that soul. It's part and part of us. When our father, our mother told us there's a mitzvah, the rav, the rabbi, the chacham, the rebbe, am I missing anything? Whatever it is, the rebbitzin tells us that this is a mitzvah, it's commanded me Sinai, we do it. Every mitzvah takes something away. It's all limits. It's all limits. You tell me I have to shake a lulav and esrog, it means I can't use that $100 to buy this. You tell me to put on tefillin, means every morning I got to put on tefillin. That's another, between 10 minutes and 45 minutes to an hour that I can't use. I got to wake up earlier. Every mitzvah is giving over a part of self. Why do we do it? Because our parents told us, or our grandparents, or our great-grandparents, or the Rav, the rabbi told us. Why should we listen? Because Yitzchak listened to his father. That's mushrish in our soul, and that's why it's called the binding of Yitzchak. And that's the seminality of this event. The seminality of this was not only the act of the greatness of the act of Abraham, which, as we went through, instilled worlds of instinct in our souls, but almost, not more importantly, but almost as important, maybe more importantly, is Yitzchak's willing to listen. So, okay, I will die because you tell me it's time. And that midah alone, that's the giving of everything, based on the Masorah, which is the universality of Judaism, and speaks to the essence of what we are. And through acts of that type of giving, we will bring the Mashiach within, and God willing, the Mashiach, mipi Hashem, from Hashem, hear me quickly in our days.
So why didn't Isaac speak to his father afterwards?
Why didn't he speak to him? So according to, you're quoting a medrash, a very interesting medrash. First, we don't know that he didn't speak to him, but what you are quoting is that he went off to study Torah. That he left the Temple Mount. I don't know that he didn't speak to his father, but he certainly did not go home with him.
Right.
But he and the reason is that he was in such a high level that he wanted just to immerse himself in Torah and study without any interruption whatsoever. So he didn't go home. He went to
What was
the
the
yeshiva.
Torah that he studied?
The Torah that he studied, there's numerous ideas about that. It's all very, very difficult to understand. First of all, the 7 Noahide laws have 1,000,000 laws connected with them. And second of all, what he probably studied was the nature of God as they understood it, as was handed down from Adam and Noah, who had tremendous insight into the spiritual aspects of the nature of Hashem. And that's probably what they studied, and that's more than a lifetime's work.
I think it might be a misnomer to say that Rivka died because.
Sarah.
Not
Sarah.
Sarah
Sarah.